Welcome everyone. This is Jenkins Platform SIG meeting. We're on the 7th of November 2023, and today we have Mark Waite, Kevin Martens. Oh, welcome Kevin. And myself, Bruno Verrechten. Let me find the right button to see the list of participants. Oh, maybe later. Anyhow, hi everybody. So today on the agenda we have one open action item. We have to talk about the latest Java releases, Java 21 support, of course. We've been pretty busy with that in infra, in Docker images and so on, and we'll talk a little bit about Docker images. Mark, is there anything you would like to talk about today that is not yet in the agenda?
I've put the topics that I wanted in the agenda.
Thank you. Kevin, what about you?
Sorry, finding my mute. No, I'm all set.
Thank you, Kevin. Okay, so let's go. As always, we'll start with the open action items. It's still on us. We still have to announce in a way or another the Blue Ocean Docker container deprecation. Mark, I still have the same stupid question each and every time we see us. Will it be part of the, the banner on top of the Jenkins website when you're using one, or is the Docker container a totally different animal and it doesn't inherit from Jenkins at all?
Yeah, it's a totally different animal, and the place where we need to put the banner is actually on the hub.docker.com page.
Oh,
nothing to do with the Jenkins website at all. The Jenkins website hasn't used this container for many years. And so we're just fine in terms of the Jenkins documentation, the Jenkins tutorials. None of those use this container. We stopped using it years ago. But as a kindness to people who might still be using it, better for us to tell them, no, this thing is dead. You need to switch to the standard Jenkins container.
So just in Docker Hub and maybe on a blog post or something. Okay,
right.
Got it. Thank you. One day. Now, let's go with the latest Java releases. So last month, yes, it was last month in October, we saw lots of different updates from Oracle, and then the Open JDK builds followed up. But we still had, because somebody, I guess it's you, Mark, corrected what I had written earlier today. So this morning, I wrote that JDK 17 Windows container was not available from Temurin yet.
Well, and it may be that the container from Temurin is not there, but Hervé, so that may be me just misstating this. Hervé made an update today to the Jenkins 2.431 changelog, adding a banner that the Windows containers are now using Java 17.
Okay.
So I may have just misread this and put the wrong text there, but the Windows containers are definitely using Java 17 now. Now, yes, whether they're derived from the Temurin container image or from binary installation of the Temurin binaries, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm afraid it's still Temurin binaries, but that's okay. Maybe that will be our main system a few months or years from now. Who knows?
Right. Exactly. And that's your point in the next text, right? That, hey, we may switch to using binaries directly. We've used the Temurin images because they were convenient, but sometimes they're delayed a little bit compared to the binary availability.
Yes, indeed. That's why I'm advocating for this solution. We'll see one of these days. Oh, Mark, another subject for you. So the Java 21 support. It's been a few weeks since you created the Jenkins enhancement proposal regarding the switch to JDK 21 and more about the use of JDK within Jenkins in the coming years with LTF that will come. What is it, by the way? Java 25, I guess it's the next LTS, or is it Java 23?
Java 25 is the next 25. LTS. Yeah.
So it's now famous 2+2+2. So how is it going?
So the community discussions were positive. Basil Crow detected a really important gap, and I'm going to work on resolving that important gap. What Basil noted is it's not enough just to describe in specification form like this JEP does what's going to happen. And it does describe in specification form what's going to happen. This happens, this happens, this happens. Those are all good things. But what Basil noted is we also need to be sure that the technical details and the individual steps are well described. As things like, when do we transition the parent POM? How do we transition the parent POM? How do we do this in such a way that we don't derail or disrupt Jenkins plugin maintenance during a transition off of one Java version onto another? Those kinds of things. And I think it's a very, very good point that he's made, that we need to think as much as we can now about how we'll do those things, because every decision we can make now helps us do a better job when the time comes. So what I'm crafting is a form of checklists. Kevin and I used a checklist to do the Java 21 documentation, and we'll do a checklist of what does it mean to switch. What does it mean to add Java? We just barely did that. So that one is a fairly easy checklist to assemble. What does it mean to drop a Java version? And we know that will happen in October of 2024, and then happen again a year or two later when Java 8 drops. And when Java 8 drops, both, because we currently support Java 8 in infrastructure, even though Jenkins core no longer supports it. But the day will come when Java 8 ceases to be supported by the Java project, by OpenJDK. So yes, we've got to think about those things. And yes, I'm working on those things. And yes, it's going to take quite a bit of work to get it.
Yeah, the devil is in the details.
Now,
the thing
actually,
is, when you go ahead, sorry.
Could you open up Basil's blog post from www.jenkins.io, because he does a very, very good job in this blog post of highlighting what the choices were and why the choice that we arrived at was made. So what this one highlights is there were several different ways we could go. And the reason we chose a particular path is because there are, in fact, two different constituencies, two different groups of people who are interested here, right? There are the Jenkins developers, and along with them, the early adopters. And then there are the enterprise people, the large scale users, who say, early adopters and developers say, give me the latest tech. Enterprise people say, give me the most stable tech, thank you very much. And so now what he does, scroll down a little bit, he illustrates, okay, if we'd said, give the most stable tech, we would have done this approach, where what we say is a Java version is supported by the Jenkins project until it's no longer supported by OpenJDK. But what that creates then is 3 Java versions supported all the time. And the Jenkins developers and the Jenkins community leaders say, that's too much. The overhead of doing that is just too painful. Now, if we look at the next, this is the developer-centered one. This is the, how do we keep Mark Waite as happy as possible? And the answer here is, oh, we only support 1 Java LTS at a time. But this is a bad choice as well, because the enterprise people say, no, you've got a knife edge right there, where you're going from one version to another, and that knife edge doesn't work in my large scale enterprise. So the next one shows what was actually approved, which is this bridging period of 2 years where we'll steadily support 2 LTS versions, one to the next. So right now we support 11, 17, and we're adding 21. The day will come and we will drop 11 and only support 17 and 21. Then the day will come when we will add 25 and drop 17. And it becomes this pattern of rolling across to multiple versions. Thanks to Java's 6-year life cycle, we can do a 2 + 2 + 2 and make this work.
No edge anymore.
Well, okay. Yeah, they're actually, for an enterprise user, they look at this and they say, oh, there still is an edge very much. It's just, it's a much wider edge. And thank you very much. The wider edge is the best compromise you can give me.
Of course. Thanks a lot, Basil, for this blog post. You know, the first time you explained that to all of us, I thought I had understood it very well. but the more you explain it, I won't say the less I understand. That's not true. The more it looks complex to me. In fact, you open a can of worms, but that's a good thing. We had to know what's inside the box, the can of worms.
Well, and that notion of a can of worms, knowing what's inside, is there's a hidden thing behind Basel's request for give additional details, because some of these transition steps, if we do them poorly, can cause negative impact on the developers that we want to retain. We want developers happy and satisfied and helping us maintain Jenkins. So very, very important that we think in advance of those things and describe them.
You know, I saw this morning somebody wanted to upgrade his plugin. It was her plugin to Java 11 from 8 to 11. And there are some problems. And I guess we'll see that kind of problems also when people will move from 11 to 17 to 17 to 21. And thinking of that ahead of time will help us keeping the developers with us. They won't just forget about Jenkins because it's a pain in the neck to port to a newer version of Java. So yes, it's people-centric, and I love it.
Great. Yeah, thanks to all involved.
Thanks a lot, Mark. Regarding Java 21, we haven't progressed that much, but we did what we could with the 250 top plugins with Java 21. So 36 are now tested on the infra with Java 21. It was 31 2 weeks ago. And 85 now work with Java 21, but they are not yet merging, are not part of the infra with Java 21, but we're progressing. And 13 don't work yet with Java 21. This number hasn't changed yet. There is still some work to do. I hope some maintainers will read their emails and try to give a chance to our PRs, and we'll see what we can do. Mark, anything to share about that?
Yeah, I have an alternate approach. The data isn't much different, but if you scroll down a little bit, the alternate view thing.
Oh, much better.
That 108 number captures both. So my goal with the Java 21 thing was, I want to be sure that we know the plugin passes tests. If the maintainer doesn't choose to merge it, that's only a secondary concern, because knowing that it passes tests is the crucial thing. And by having over 100 of the, in this case, 130 top plugin repositories that are already known to be passing tests, I feel much better. Now, I would like it to be 130 out of 130. Right? I'd like 100% of them, and we're not there yet. So we've certainly got more work to do, but I feel very comfortable that what Basel announced in that Java support was that we will officially support Java 21 in Jenkins 2.426.1 that will release November 15. So we know the documentation's ready because Kevin's got that for us. We know that the testing is going on because I've been testing exclusively with Java 21 on 2.426, getting ready for it. So feel really good about it, but we're going to be ready.
That's pretty cool. And you know what? I'm kind of a pirate, as you know, we've seen a few plugin adoption requests lately, and as soon as I see somebody volunteering for maintaining a plugin, I create a fork of a plugin, make the necessary changes for the plugin to be compatible with JDK 21, and then submit a merge request, and ta-da! We have a maintainer ready to merge something, so that we have another plugin. But sometimes it's just a plugin installed on 0.01% of the instances, but that's okay. That's one more plugin.
Well, and that's a data gap that I think I eventually hope to plug somehow, is what fraction of adoption has happened in the overall plugin infrastructure, because we know many plugins are still on ci.jenkins.io building with Java 8, and that's not a healthy condition for them, because Jenkins stopped supporting Java 8 over a year ago.
Yeah, but for some of them, it's kind of it depends on your level of Java, you know, your Java skills. But sometimes it's kind of difficult for people like me to port a plugin from Java 8 to Java 11. I found some workarounds, but sometimes it's not pretty. It's pretty much ugly. For example, you have to say to add some, what is it, to build it, to add some options in order to say, oh, it's unsecure, but it's okay, go ahead. And that's not a good thing to do. But yes, if we knew most of the problem people have when porting their plugins to JDK 11 and later, that would be helpful maybe to help other people. Or maybe we could even write a recipe to help people port that plugin to Java 11. We'll see. By the way, I worked a little bit lately with OpenRewrite and Modern.io to see if we could replicate, your tutorial, Mark, the one you worked with Darren Pot regarding improve a plugin. And there are already quite a few recipes that we can use to help port a plugin to Java 21. We'll talk about that maybe on another SIG meeting. We'll see. Another subject about Java 21 is the availability for hardware. You were worried, Mark, that we wouldn't have anything for the S319X a few weeks ago, and it's still the case, more or less. JDK 21 from Temerin for S319X is available in the early access versions, but it hasn't been available. It's not available yet for general availability versions of Temerin. It's because of the test. To be a general availability, they have to pass all the tests given by Oracle. And for the time being, it's not the case for ARM32 and S319X. I don't know if that's a problem for Jenkins to use only early access version for this platform, but in the meantime, that's all that we have.
Yeah, and I think we're stuck for right now. If we want to deliver Java 21 bits for System 390, which we currently do have container images that support System 390. I'm not sure if the System 390 container image is a Java 21 container. I don't believe it is, but if we want to, then early access is our only choice. And
yes,
I wish they would do differently, but we can't change their process or fix tests on System 390. If they don't work, they don't work.
Yeah, in fact, we already provide some containers with JDK 21, but it's always early access for S319X. And the thing is, it's not in Temerin's hands. It's earlier in the process. It's something that has to be corrected within OpenJDK. And I don't know who is responsible for that. So we'll have to wait.
Okay.
Now for the infra, the transition to the official 21.0 plus 35 is finished. I don't know about the latest one, the 21.0.1 plus 12. Maybe it's a work in the process. I don't know. I don't have Damien in the meeting.
I can do a quick check. I'm pretty sure that the transition is complete to 21.0.1 plus 12.
Ooh, that would be cool.
I think so, but let me check. It's easy to check.
Yeah, thank you, Mark.
Yeah, so pleased to say, when the Git client plugins master branch built, when was it? When it built 2 days ago? No, 1 day ago. 2 days ago, it was built with Java 21.0.1. So
plus 12. Yeah,
exactly. And Windows and Linux. So we're set. Ooh. Let me double check just to be sure.
Yeah.
Linux, yes. Oh, no, it doesn't build with 21 on Windows. It builds with 17. So let me check that it's 17.09. Okay, so the Windows JDK is still out of date. It's at 17.0.08. It needs to be at 9. So that one still needed to be updated out of last week.
Yeah. Okay, got it. Thank you, Mark. The thing is, I put a link below about Java versioning naming convention, and it's not that easy to follow and understand. And I worked Okay, you can do it, but it's not easy. I worked with the infra team in order to have JDK 21 when it was still early access release. And frankly, building the correct links to download from GitHub is kind of difficult. And I saw many corrective pull requests, so I know it's not easy. So Damien is working on a way to use directly Tamarin's API in order to get the right download link. We shouldn't do it, try to process and put bits, copy, paste, move, and so on in order to get the right URL. It's not our job. It should be Tamarin. So we will, in the near future, use Tamarin's API in order to get the right URL directly. That would be quicker and easier to maintain. As for the Docker images now, there has been some work on agent and controller images, but nothing groundbreaking these last 2 weeks. For SSH agent, we had 2 new releases. We bumped Debian Bookworm Linux and Node Alpine Docker image, nothing major. For Docker agent, we had quite a lot of version bumps and worked around JDK 21 that led to 4 releases. And that's also because we have some architectures, some platforms where we have the official general availability release, a GA release, and for some other platforms like ARM32 or S319X, we have to use a preview, so the early access one. That's why there are lots of work around JDK 21. And for inbound agent, we got also a few bumps with 4 new releases. We migrated, I think Eva did that, to the new remote encoding convention, and we of course burned the parent image Jenkins agent version. And as for the controller, we had 2 new weekly releases, and we bumped the JDK 21 to the new version, the 21.01 plus 12. We bumped a B8, a B9, JDK 21 preview version, Debian Bookworm, and lots of things like that regarding JDK 21. So lots of back and forth regarding Java, because there has been quite a lot of things happening between the GA version and the EA version. And that's all that I had. Mark, Kevin, would you have anything to add regarding the subjects we address or another subject to talk about?
So we just got a new rev today of UBI 9. It'll now be at 9.3 on the next release. So 431 it matches with exactly what you've got there. 432 next week, and the Jenkins 2.426.1 will actually include UBI 9.3. So we continue keeping up to date with the upstream providers.
That's pretty cool. Yes, I wrote that this morning, and the release was not yet available, the 2.341, but it's available now, I guess. It has been built a few hours ago. Got it, Mark. That's good news. We're keeping things up to date. Anything else?
Nope.
Hey, we're on time, despite me being late. Thanks a lot, folks. Let's wrap it up and see you 2 weeks from now. The video should be available from 24 to 48 hours. Have a good rest of your day and see you soon. Bye-bye.